Yeah, well, there's another school shooting in Florida, somewhere in Florida, and it was a kid who bought a gun and then went into a school and started shooting. And there's like a bunch of people who like everyone hid in their classrooms. There's like a teacher, a gym teacher who got shot because he was trying to like block students with his body, which is really
There's always that guy.
yeah, yeah. There was actually two. There was like a geography teacher or something who opened one of it like his classroom door to let students in to like, and then he got shot. It's pretty brutal, but obviously like that's not really the point I'm trying to get to. Every time something like that happens, there's always the conversation about gun laws, and there's always two sides to it: the people who are pro gun and anti gun.
Yeah.
First of all, which side are you on?
I think we've talked about this before. Like most things, I'm sort of in the middle. Like I don't think there should be because we've talked about how like guns are neutral, like they can be used in good ways or bad ways.
Yeah. Do you want to like recap that real quick?
Pretty much is what I just said. Like it's one of the things that are neutral, and if you put them in good situations, they can be good, and if you put them in bad situations with bad people,
right, exactly, yeah.
Then they can be bad.
Like
but
people who are gonna do.
if
bad
you
things.
just set it on a table, it's just a gun. You can use it in any way.
We've compared it to like drugs, or even my favorite is like a hammer. You can use a hammer to build a house for like a homeless person, or you can use it to like murder a homeless person.
Exactly, yeah. And it's always going to be it's different.
It's a tool.
It's different from a hammer because there's not really many. Well, I guess you could think of other ways that it could be like helpful to like, I don't know, shot something that if you like shot a door down or something. But for the most part, you're using it to like take a life.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
I know
always
what you're
going to be
saying.
a difficult discussion because everyone's going to have a different like morally gray area of like what life is good.
Yeah,
to
and
take
like,
what life
does this
isn't.
person deserve to die or not?
Or,
I understand.
Yeah, do some people deserve it, or is it just wrong to kill anybody ever? Sort
See,
of thing?
I would, I guess to add to like the good of it, it can also not only be used for ending a life, but it could also be used as intimidation. Like, say you're going to be robbed. If you just point the gun at the person, they're probably going to be scared off and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is the whole. I've had friends say that to me, where it's like, if you don't want people to come in your house, if you point a gun at them, they'll leave.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But
No,
it's like,
I agree with that. Kind of.
yeah, I guess my whole thing about it is like, even if I owned a gun, I know I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't shoot anyone.
I agree. Unless, like, I don't know. In the moment, though, you'd feel kind of. I'd hate to like shoot someone and then later regret it. You know what I mean? Because you're in that heated moment. You're kind of.
It's not even because of like a moral thing of like I don't want to take a life. It's just like I'm a pussy and I wouldn't be able to do it. Like there'd be
honest.
there'd be something. There would have to be something that like maybe if they like killed my mom in front of me, I'd be so mad I'd shoot them.
Isn't that like revenge killing though? I'm thinking more self-defense.
I feel like that's the only way I would ever shoot someone is if they like killed a person I loved.
You don't think if someone like broke into your house and they were like trying to find you, you wouldn't point the gun and maybe perhaps like
I don't think I'd shoot them.
No?
No.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I see both sides. I don't really have a super clear like or thought on it. But I guess I feel like places with less guns are places I would like to gravitate more to. I personally don't really like them.
See, I guess
But the thing is, some people like them, and as soon as one guy likes them, everyone else
Yeah.
needs them.
Yeah.
So-
As it's like the self-driving car. Like if one person has a gun, then everyone kind of feels like they need one.
Yeah.
Which is right, because if someone to make it kind of equal, so it's like if that person has a gun, I should also have a gun in case they want to do something. But at the same time, I could argue that, like you point a gun at me, and I'm just gonna point this gun at you. But I'm not gonna shoot you. I'm just gonna point it at you just in case you shoot me. It's just that's such a ridiculous world to live in.
I know.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like people are so against the nuclear war thing, where it's like we're not gonna fire these nukes. We're just gonna make them so that other countries know we have them, just in case. Like it'll scare them off.
Yeah.
But it's like if the whole world makes nukes and they just keep them, it's like what was the point of the nukes then?
Yeah.
It's I don't want to really live in that world. I'd rather home is like a nice place because your family, you never, in most cases, you never assume like your friends or family are gonna hurt you in any way. You know what I mean? You feel safe around them, and I think that's that kind of like level of trust is something that people need, I guess. Because otherwise, you like who can you trust? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I guess the best way for me to word it is like if I was in my house by myself with a gun.
Yeah.
And somebody were to come in and like point a gun at me, and I'm biased because of where I live, but
Okay.
for where I live, I feel like a huge majority of the people who would break into my house are people who just want my stuff. They
Like
don't-
Robert. Okay, yeah.
They don't want to take
They
my
wouldn't.
life.
They wouldn't be like specifically. It wouldn't be you, but it would
Yes.
be just this is. A
I
house
feel
we
like
can steal
I feel
stuff.
like they would be unarmed, and they would just have some sort of mask on so I couldn't see them. They would come in the dark, and they would break a window, come in, and I feel like if I was home, they would just fucking leave. You know what I mean? Like, do you agree with that? They would just like come in the house and be like, oh shit, someone's home, and they would just leave right away. They wouldn't like break in and be like, hey, get on your knees and like
Right,
at
yeah.
like fucking 2 a.m.
Yeah. Because robbers are humans too. You know what I mean?
They don't want to
They
get
don't
caught.
want conflict. Yeah.
They're very scared of being caught.
They want that
just
easy thing. Yeah.
They just want your stuff. You know, I mean, I feel like if somebody was actually, if their goal was to murder me, I don't think they would do it by breaking into my house at 3 a.m. in like a busy neighborhood.
Yeah.
And shooting me
Yeah.
in cold blood and leaving. I don't think, you know.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's realistic. It could happen, but my whole thing is like, if I think that most people who break into my house are like that, I don't feel like owning a gun benefits me that much, because it's like, okay, I can point a gun at them and I know I'm not going to shoot them, and then they'll leave, which is something I think they would do anyways, even without a gun. Or I can just like grab a baseball bat or like yell at them or something and try to get them to leave. But it's like, and then off the off occasion that somebody does come in with a gun, I already established I'm not going to shoot them.
Yeah.
So I can point my gun at them, but I'm going to get shot first. I will refuse to shoot them first. I'm too scared. I'm not going to be able to get to that point of shooting them before they shoot me because I'm scared or whatever. They would just shoot me first, and the outcome would be the same if I didn't have a gun.
So what would your reply to be about for other people? Because you're talking about you specifically.
that's
what about other people?
For other people, I understand why, because in different neighborhoods are different. If I'd lived in a different spot where people are actually getting shot in their homes,
you'd probably be differently. Yeah.
I think I could be definitely more open to like pro guns.
Yeah.
And like at least having a gun in your house so people leave. But yeah, just based on the way I live and the way I am, I wouldn't, I guess.
But you're not against like everyone else having a gun if they so choose.
I think it would be better if people just didn't have guns, obviously, than if people did, because something my dentist said actually when I was at the dentist is he was talking about this in the other room. I think it was about the same shooting, and the only thing I really heard him say is he said there's like an argument that if everybody has guns, nobody's gonna get like shot, because like you're not gonna shoot somebody who can shoot you, sort of thing.
Right.
But then he said, well, if nobody has guns, nobody's gonna get shot either. And then I see where he's coming from, but the reality is people have guns.
So you gonna finish?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So what would you say about say someone like what are you gonna do against a fucking well-built, like working out kind of gym dude? You know what I mean? He'd beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, just.
But if you have a gun and he doesn't, now it's like, and you're not gonna shoot him. You just don't want him to hurt you. So you're like back up. So what would you say about that?
Because it would be easier to get him to leave.
Yeah. Or like, you know, it's for your safety. Like you don't want to shoot him. You know, you just admitted you don't.
Yeah.
But it kind of evens the. What would you say about that?
I guess I think of it as like a risk reward thing.
Okay.
Where it's like the only reward I would really have to having a gun in my house right now is that on the very rare occasion that were to happen, I would be able to
kind of even the scare them, intimidate.
I'd be able to get them to leave easier.
Yeah.
But then I think of like all the risks that go along with having a like firearm in your house at all times. Like what if somebody breaks in and they try to find my shit, and then they somehow find my gun and take it, and then I come home and now they have my gun.
Right.
I don't have it.
Right.
Like there's a lot of shit that can go wrong. Like
that's assuming they would know where you have your gun though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't hide it well or whatever, or like whatever, if you just have like ammunition out and like maybe they have their own gun and then they can like load up or something. I don't know. There's a lot of things that happen, but it could even just be like if you're living at home with your mom and she brings home a boyfriend who she just met, and then one day she finds out he has an anger problem and he gets a little bit too angry, and now the worst thing that can happen is a lot worse because you have a gun in your house than compared to like your mom just whatever she just might.
Wouldn't that mean that if the guy is beating your mom, you could pull the gun on him?
If you have the gun, what if he has the gun and he's really mad?
Just don't tell him about the gun.
All I'm saying is like there's a lot of other things that could
right. There's the ways it can go wrong.
I feel like there's more wrong things that could happen than good. Just like the good thing is just I can get people to leave if they break into my house.
Like safety. Safety is actually quite important though, don't you think?
Yeah, but even in like my area that I'm in now,
yeah,
my house has been broken into twice since I've been alive, which is high for my area.
Yeah,
it's like very.
It's
rare.
high for me. It's been 0 for me.
Yeah, it's for just this area in general. It's like really rare to even get broken into at once. And if you do, it'll just because like you leave your door unlocked and somebody like walks in and takes your laptop. Right. But like somebody actually broke a window like twice, 2 different windows in my house when we weren't home. So like even if I think of it as like even in 20 years of living, I've only been broken into twice, and they were both just robberies. The first time
you guys weren't home?
No.
Okay.
First time they took jewelry, the second time they took nothing. When I think of it as like that, that's more break-ins than like most people in my area. I do feel pretty safe most of the time because and I don't know. I guess I've also just had it kind of drilled into my head that people are gonna leave if I'm home.
Right.
I guess so that makes me a lot less scared. All I have to do is just yell hey and they'll leave.
Do you think you would yell hey, or do you think you'd be pretty scared?
I'd be
Really?
so mad. I'd be so mad.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If I heard someone like tapping on my window and they like opened my window or
Yeah.
something.
What if it was like multiple dudes?
That'd be fun. It'd be so scary.
Yeah,
But,
it
like,
would.
what else are you gonna do?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
But at least in the area I am, where our houses are so close together, I don't see them like killing me.
I'm gonna turn the conversation a little towards the topic that usually people go to when shootings like this happen. The people who are pro gun, they say it's not guns, it's the person, and it's specifically like mental illness. And like, for example, if you have a gun in the house, and I mean, children aren't mentally ill because they're supposed to be that dumb at that age. But for example, if you have a gun in the house and the kid uses it, that has happened in the past, not very often.
Yeah.
Also, if someone's like mentally ill, they could either hurt themselves, like suicide, or they could do what the school shooter did and shoot up a school. So in terms of laws that allow guns, but they just kind of hammer down on mental illness, what do you think of that?
Okay, sorry, repeat that again. In terms of laws that
Yeah,
hammer down
when
on
people
mental illness?
say it's not the gun, like let's not get rid of guns, but let's fix the laws so it prevents mentally ill people from getting a gun.
getting guns,
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be a gray line between what mentally ill is. Do you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So it's like anything that's like that, where there's laws where these people can and these people can't. I think of them as mostly negative, even though they obviously could help if it was done properly. But I don't really know.
Because okay, to I guess to help you out to like defend your point, when we talk about like the blurry line for mentally ill, people forget that when there's bodily variations, like people with different variations of any condition, there's always the opposite end of the spectrum, which is good. So if you have like you have a really you get sick easily, for example, that's a problem. You go to the hospital, you gotta fix your immunity, your white blood cells. There's people on the opposite end of the spectrum who barely get sick, who have really strong white blood cells that fight it off. But those people don't never have a problem, so it goes off okay. So what we're talking about with mental illness is people who are super depressed, but on the opposite end of like end of the spectrum, you would have people who are extremely happy. And what if that state of euphoria can put you into a kind of like a dangerous mindset as well? That's why they drop gas masks in an airplane, because if you're deprived of oxygen, you kind of become like that happy, like, okay, I'm okay with dying kind of thing. But that I don't think that would be, I don't know obviously, but I would think that if you go to a psychologist, they wouldn't see you being too happy and be like, no, you're gonna shoot up a school, even though it could happen. Like, no one looks at the opposite end of the spectrum. They just look at you're sad, you're depressed.
And the thing is, I feel a lot of the times people are only declared mentally ill based on their actions. You know
So
what I
you
mean?
could lie, is what you're saying?
So yeah, exactly. You could have two people who are like equally mentally ill, whatever that means, but then one guy goes out and commits crime, the other guy just stays home and feels awful.
Because
And
there is a major difference between the criminally insane and
Yes.
just being insane.
So then the guy who just stays home and is depressed all the time with no friends isn't
Right.
mentally ill, he's just depressed or
yeah,
whatever.
and he's not going to shoot up a school.
Yeah, but
he's
then
just-
the guy who's out there causing problems is, and he can't own a gun, sort of thing.
Right.
But it's like they're both the same person. They in reality they both have the same equal chance of eventually snapping one day
Right.
and doing something awful. But it's like only one of them is doing it now. It's way too hard to know. But like, yeah, I guess I would be more for it if it was like a criminally insane thing. If people were actually
Like if they because I think obviously I can speak for people who are supportive of guns, but I believe the arguments I've heard is that if they have a previous record, or if they have, because then they'd be in the system. You just look up their name, you match it to if they have a record or if they've done anything, even if it's like domestic abuse or like some sort of conflict where he was yelling at his girlfriend or wife and then the cops were called, anything like that, they would not be able to get a gun.
Well, isn't that in place now?
No, because that's what the argument is, I would assume.
Where if somebody committed a crime with a gun and then went to jail.
From what I understand, obviously I'm not a professional in this, but from what I understand, the fact that there is an argument that's like, oh, we should have that background check more, like, also I've heard, like, it makes me think that it's not there, like that law isn't in place. The second thing is that I've heard things that say if someone goes to buy a gun, they just need ID, like you don't actually cross-check them with crimes, which is mind-blowing to me. I can't believe that's not already a thing. But that's one of the things that people argue, is that you need to get better background checks and stuff. And it just blows my mind that that's not already a thing. Is that someone just walks in and you just hand them a gun. It's weird. Obviously not that, but like, they don't like search you extensively.
And it's actually easier than you think to get
a gun,
illegal weapons without
illegal weapons,
without actually doing it the right legal way.
Yeah, that's a problem too.
It's still like very available to people as an option to get like illegal weaponry.
Yeah. No, I've heard it's like quite easy to just buy an illegal weapon like that. So what do you think of there's other arguments that say that we should ban assault weapons or semi-automatics that can, mow down, right? And another argument is having clip size maximums. So you can't have like a very large clip size, because the way that someone who was actually for the NRA, which is the National Rifle Association or whatever, he said that he's changed his mind about clip size, because the way he thinks of it is that the clip has bullets in it, and each one of those bullets is going to go into someone. So the less bullets there are, that's lives that aren't going to die, because right, that, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A shorter clip size means that there's more people who are going to live if something like that ever happens. So my question would be, what do you think of the clip size maximum laws, I guess, and the semi-automatic and automatic assault rifles being banned?
I actually like both of those arguments a lot, because I'm trying to think of what a positive would be to having a large clip size and having like a bunch of rounds go out at once.
Yeah.
Because you would just be able to kill more things.
And
right?
An automatic weapon.
Yeah. So it's
or semi-automatic even.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like having more rounds go out, like yeah, a semi-automatic weapon that can release more bullets faster and kill more things.
Right.
I think of it as like, I don't know, the main pros I think of is that more things will die easier, so like if you're hunting and stuff. But
yeah,
I feel like I haven't hunted, but I feel like most of the time it'd be like a one target thing.
Yeah, there's someone I know who hunts, and they said, and they're very, at least to me, obviously pro-gun. You want not automatic, but semi-automatics, because if the first shot misses, you can blow off a couple more rounds and get your target. Target being animal, not person. But obviously you can see how on the opposite end of the spectrum, people would say, well, yeah, that target could be a human being, like a kid, So, but you're for the banning of assault weapon or semi-automatics.
For the banning of it, yeah, honestly, I am.
Okay, because you don't see any reason, is what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like what the real pros are to that, and also like the clip size. It's like you'll have more. You won't have to reload as much, and you'll have more bullets to kill things.
Yeah.
But it's like you can still hunt with a small clip.
Yeah. People are also gonna thinking of banning what are they called, mods or whatever, the attachments. So like silencers and bump stocks, because there's no reason to have is what they say, quote unquote, is like there's no reason to have a silencer or a bump stock or any kind of modification like that on an assault rifle, unless you're going to plan on shooting a school or anything like that. Because silencers obviously would keep it quieter, so like classrooms further down would not hear it until it's
steering animals away?
Too late. Yeah, exactly. So that would be the argument, is like, well, if you're hunting, you want to keep it quiet in case that first shot misses. Yeah. So what do you think of that, like banning or limiting the number of modifications?
I don't know. I'm just not really big on like the idea of hunting in general, honestly.
Right.
Because it's so tough. It's almost like, yes, we're omnivores and we need meat.
Yeah.
But I think with the higher thinking we've been granted, we have so much power to choose what we eat and like what goes into our body. Yeah. Like you can still fish, you know what I mean? And you don't need a gun for fishing.
Right.
There's still ways to get around it and like to eat meat.
Yeah.
Without owning a gun, or even just like,
Sure, because I mean,
like an arrow.
Our ancestors used to hunt with like spears and shit. Exactly, you don't need a gun.
Get a bow and arrow or something. Like there's ways to do it.
That's more badass too. If you use a bow and arrow, respect, man. Respect to you.
But yeah, in general, I'm just not really big on guns overall, but I don't really think we should ban all of them either.
Right. So if you don't want one, but if someone else would want one, you would be okay with it.
Yeah.
That's what your stance is.
I guess it kind of bothers me that people think that a lot of people's main reason for not banning guns is just because they want to use them, and I think that's weird. One
of the arguments that I've heard from someone who I've talked to who is pro-gun as well is that the automatic weapons because it's obviously military grade, right? Like who needs a semi-automatic for a town or a city? And the reason why it's the Second Amendment is because it was put in place because if the government decides to overrule, like if there's a coup and the government decides to throw the military into the streets and like essentially ban everyone from like they have curfews and shit like that, which happened in other countries, so that if the citizens have guns, they can fight back against the government and not be controlled. So they band together. And what do you think of that?
Dude, there's so many possibilities where guns can be positive and negative at the same time. So That's why I don't believe in just not having them ever, but I think limited use is great.
Okay.
Just the less there are, the less people die, I think. So
See, my opinion on the whole thing is that the Second Amendment was made back in the 1770s, something like that, when the American Revolution was happening, right? And guns back then were kind of, they were kind of like the fire one shot and then you gotta like reload and like, you know, do the I don't know exactly what the thing was, but they would like clean it out and like put in another, like load it up and then, you know,
musket.
A musket. And it would take a while, right? But my biggest problem with it is the same problem that I had with school during our school conversation, was that the technology has advanced, the mental capabilities of human beings has advanced, the education and knowledge has advanced, but the laws haven't advanced. They have not changed, despite the advancement of everything else that surrounds it. If that makes sense. For the perfect example of that would be when a big problem now that I found was that people can now 3D print mods at their house. They could 3D print a bump stock, which stops, I think it does something, it's like stops recoil or something, which makes it more accurate when you're shooting or something like that. They can 3D print that at home and then put it on illegally, right? Before they go shoot up school. The laws, 3D printing wasn't around back then, you know? Those kinds of modifications weren't readily accessible back then, right? 1775, that was like 300 years ago, right? Yep. Am I right? Yeah. So that's insane that the laws have not updated with the times. That's what blows my mind. It's like I'm okay with the idea of it. I'm open to it. Again, like we've already established, we're pretty much in the middle. But it just like, I guess my biggest problem is that how come it hasn't evolved with, like, the laws haven't evolved with the times?
Yeah, there's going to be, as time goes on, there's only going to be easier and easier ways to achieve things.
Yeah.
But I also don't really like the idea of just banning stuff, I think. Like, just
you think that's too much control?
Yeah. But I guess the best way to close this discussion out with guns is, like, I feel like I need to be in the middle, because if you're too far on one side, you're not thinking about the other possibilities.
Right, yeah.
Like, if you're in the middle, you're thinking about guns can be good and bad. They're horrible sometimes, and they're great other times.
Exactly.
They can be very useful. But if you're on, like pro or, like, super against, you're not thinking about how they could be good or bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're not opening up to both sides. Even though it's a boring answer sometimes to just say, I don't have an opinion, I'm in the middle. But
yeah, that is an opinion, though, isn't it?
It is. But I don't know. People like taking sides. Right. It's like, oh, you're on the same side as me. You know?
Yeah. I would say I'm pretty much in the middle, because I've heard good arguments about both sides, and also I don't like the idea of me controlling other people's lives, if that makes sense. So like this normal, I have people who are pro-gun and anti-gun, and the people, in my opinion, the people who are anti-gun, I understand where they're coming from, because they don't want to die, they don't want kids to die, they don't want people to die that don't deserve it, and I understand the pro-gun because they aren't going to shoot anyone. They are using it for what its purpose is, essentially for protection, for safety. They're not going to use it ill-intently, right? So I kind of see both sides, and I understand it. It's those extremists, I would say, that kind of ruin it for everyone else. And I feel like that's really the problem. It's like, can you even fix that? Can you hammer down on mental illness laws to the point where if things don't happen anymore? Because there's countries that have banned guns, like Australia, right? I've heard a lot of arguments about Australia banning guns, and they're completely safe.
Australia has banned them.
Yeah, has banned them, right? Okay. But then I've also heard arguments of, I forget what country it is. It's somewhere in Northern Europe. I want to say Sweden, I think. I don't know, though. Don't quote me on that. But there's a country up there that has given, like, all their citizens can be given assault rifles, and there's no shootings either. So it's like, it works both ways. It's kind of like exactly like the drug conversation, because there's I guess it's a little different, because there's countries that have banned all drugs, and obviously people use it and there's death and stuff. But then there's countries that have not banned drugs and actually decriminalize every drug, and they're doing pretty much better than what we're doing.
There's other factors people don't think about.
Yeah.
But the Australian thing, it was called the Port Arthur Massacre.
Right. That's what ended it.
Yeah, pretty much guns were legal there.
Yeah.
And a guy named Martin Bryant, I know him by name. He killed 35 people and injured 22 in one day, like, just him. And it was because there was no defense. Like, it took forever for any police to show up, because something like that was so rare to happen.
Yeah.
So he just started opening fire on innocent civilians, and obviously they didn't have a way to protect themselves. There was nowhere to hide. They didn't have guns either. So they just died. And before they eventually got him and he killed himself and stuff, about 35 lives of them. And then after that, they just banned guns. And then apparently Australia was like, yeah, let's just ban the guns because we don't want this to happen again.
Yeah.
And it's not happening anymore.
See, I understand that too.
There's other factors that makes it not happen besides just the fact that guns are illegal, though.
Yeah. Oh, obviously. Absolutely. I mean, I guess to combat that, to equal it out, there was a story somewhere in the U.S. where some dude was shooting up a mall, and he killed, I believe, 11 people, and then there was an off-duty cop who was in the mall, and he saw that, and he pulled out his pistol and shot the guy, and it saved the lives of potential. I mean, if you think of usually mass shootings with like a semi-automatic weapon, 11's too high, obviously, but it's still like lower than what it could have been. So it's just such a complicated issue. I feel like there's a lot that people need to talk about more.
Yeah, okay.